Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today I'm going to do a very detailed setup of the LAN play on the Nintendo Switch. So basically I've got two Nintendo Switches here and they're going to be connecting together via the LAN cables, Ethernet cables, but this isn't just a tutorial on how to do that. Nintendo say that you have to have it docked into a TV for this to work, but there is a way that you don't have to have it docked into a TV. You can just have it in handheld mode, or it's much more comfortable just putting it in a stand and then using USB on-the-go cables. So basically it's going to be a long tutorial, but I'm going to cover lots of things. Now the ideal thing for this is, yes, it's going to be great fun if you have, for example, a LAN party with your friends and you can connect up to 12 Nintendo Switches together. But even if you just live in a house and, for example, you've got a Nintendo Switch and your son's got a Nintendo Switch, if you want to connect them up in different rooms, so for example, if you want one connected up on a TV at the front of the house and one connected up on a TV at the back of the house, if you've watched my previous video on how to do wireless play, you will have seen that it only works around 8 or 9 meters away, even when there isn't any walls in the way. When you start bringing walls into the equation and ceilings into the equation, then it goes down to about 4 or 5 meters. So the good thing about this is I've tested it up to 60 meters. I've connected two 30-meter Ethernet cables together and it works perfectly. So an ideal situation in my house would be to have this one over here on a back room TV, this one over here on a front room TV, and then my son can be in one room playing it, I can be in another room playing it, and we're doing local multiplayer, but we're not limited to basically sitting next to each other. So I think the good thing as well is the fact that you don't have to have a TV. If, for example, you were to get a load of you together with wireless play, you're limited to 8 Nintendo Switches together, which I appreciate is a lot. You're probably not going to know another 7 people with Nintendo Switches. But if you did, if you wanted to get 12 together and completely take over the race, or get 6 Nintendo Switches together and do split screens, so again you can take over the race with 12 carts, then you're not going to have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 TVs to connect them all to. So by using the USB cables, then you don't need TVs. None of you need TVs. You can just all work off the handheld mode, but you will have to have a cable coming out of the Switch. Or, like I said, just use these little fold-up little stands, and then you won't have to connect it up to the TV. So the video will be long, but hopefully there'll be a lot of information in there, and by the end of it you should know the ins and outs of LAN play. Right, okay, so I'm going to show you the setup. Right, okay, so what you have to do is, first of all, you will have to connect it to your router, or router as you guys know it in the States. I will be calling it a router, that's what we call it in the UK, so please don't do loads of comments saying router, router and all the rest of it. Now, you normally have spare ports on the back of your router and you can connect it straight into there. If you've run out of ports on your router, then you connect it, like I've done here, to a little switch. So you will have to connect it into a switch, but then the switch has to be connected to the router. You can't just use the switch on its own. It has to have an internet connection into it. Now, I thought you would be able to just use a switch on its own, but I can't find a way to make it work. So at the moment, this grey lead here goes all the way back to my understairs cupboard where my router is housed. So you have to either connect to the back of here on the router or via a network switch. Now, obviously, if you were connecting up 15 Nintendo Switches, you're going to have a big switch to accommodate all that. Right, okay, so first of all, I'm going to do it like the official way that Nintendo show you how to do it, and then I'm going to show you the kind of unofficial way using USB cables in the stands. Right, okay, so you will have to get yourself these LAN adapters. This is a USB to RJ45, so USB to Ethernet. Now, you can get the official Nintendo ones. I think they're made by a company called Hori, but they're quite expensive. I just got these ones here, U-Green, from Amazon, and they're really cheap. This one here is a USB 3, so it's got the blue USB, and this one will allow up to 1000 megabits per second, so basically gigabit internet. I've also got this one here, which is a U-Green again, but this one here is just a USB 2. Now, later on in the video, you will see that in some cases, you will need the USB 2, depending on the OTG, on-the-go USB cable that you've got. So it's your call, it depends on your internet connection. Here I've got 70 megabits coming into the house, so USB 2 is fine for me. This one here was only, I think there's $6.99, and the USB 3 one was $8.99, so much cheaper than the official Nintendo ones, and they work absolutely fine. So all we need to do is get our Ethernet cables. So this is one Ethernet cable, and we're going to plug it in to the back of the switch. And then the other end, we're going to plug into the network adapter, like so. And then we're going to plug that network adapter into a spare USB port on the Nintendo dock. Now this is just USB 2, this one, so I'm just using one of the ones at the side. And if you have a look now at that adapter, you will see that the lights are starting to flash there, and it should be getting an internet connection. We can double check that by going here, and if you have a look here, at the moment it's still, there we go, it's gone over to internet onto the Ethernet cable now, because that's changed from the Wi-Fi symbol to that little squiggly line there, which basically is supposed to replicate an Ethernet cable. Now we're going to do exactly the same on this Nintendo Switch over here. So we've got our Ethernet cable here, again into the back of the Switch, and then on this one here we're going to be using the USB 3 LAN adapter. And it makes no difference in my house, but on this one I am going to just connect it into the back here, because this USB port on the back is a USB 3 one. This is the only USB 3, the ones at the side are USB 2. So if you did have a really good internet connection that was over 100 megabits per second, you would be connecting that into the back. And again, if you have a look there, the lights have come on there, and then in about a minute or so it should come up with the cable there, which is already done. Now if this is the first time you've plugged this in, it probably won't recognize it immediately. So what you will have to do is you will have to go into your internet settings, search for a connection, and then just go onto wired connection, and then basically it will connect up within about 10 or 20 seconds. It's really quick once you go into that, but you have to go into that setting. Once you've set this internet connection up, then it's fine. Every time you unplug that LAN adapter, it will just kick over back to the Wi-Fi if you've already got Wi-Fi set up. So first time you use a switch, obviously you have to set up Wi-Fi. Then when you use the LAN adapter, you have to set up the LAN adapter. After you've done that initial setup, every time after that, every time you plug in the LAN adapter, it should just recognize it straight away, and every time you unplug it, it should go onto the Wi-Fi straight away. Now I know this, I'm waffling and I'm going on a lot, but what I will also do is I will also do another video of how to do the LAN play, a real short quick video. I just want to go into a lot of detail on this particular one. Right, okay, so that's basically the hardware side of things set up, because both Nintendo Switches now are hardwired to a wired connection. So we're going to go into our game. This particular game we're going to be using Mario Kart Deluxe. Now with this, each Nintendo Switch will have to have their own game cartridge. So if you have a look in here, I've got my game cartridge here, which is Mario Kart in the top one here, and I've also got it in this one here. You can't share the same cartridge. So for example, if this one just had a cartridge, then I wouldn't be able to all jump into it. Each one has to have its own cartridge. So that's a bit of a downfall, unfortunately. But we're going to go into Mario Kart. Now, if you have a look, it just says single player, multiplayer, online play and wireless play. There is no option for LAN play. But if you look closely at wireless play down here, all we have to do is hit these top two buttons, L and R, and then at the same time as pressing them down, we're going to click in on the left stick here, and you will see it will change from wireless play to LAN play. Click on those two buttons there and click in, and you see now it's changed to LAN play. And now we're going to go down to LAN play, and we're going to host the game on this switch, and then this one over here, this switch over here is then going to join in the game. So at the moment we're going to set up LAN play on here, so we're going to go to A, and at the moment I'm just going to do one player on each of them, and then afterwards I'll do two player. So I'm going to go to create room, and then do whoever you want to do, and the cart you want to do, etc, etc. Right, okay, so that's the room created. Now we need to go into this one here and enable LAN play. Now every time you set up a game, you will have to go through this process of enabling LAN play, because automatically it always goes back to wireless play. So if you have a look here, wireless play, And now again, L button and R button at the same time, and click in on the left analog stick. So let's get nice and close so you see the wireless play changing over. Right, here we go, perfect. So left and right in, and then click in on the left button, and there you go. LAN play comes up, and we just go to A, and this time you see now, instead of creating a room, it's come up with Vince 1 of 12. So if it was wireless play, it would say 1 of 8, but because we're doing the LAN play, it's 1 of 12, so we can connect up 1. If I did 2 player on this screen on the left hand side, then it would say 2 of 12. So that depends how many people are in the room. So I'm going to go down to that one and press A. And again, now I get to choose my character and the cart and everything like that. And now, just like wireless play, we can now go back to the original one, and we're going to choose the race that we want to do, whether it's 50cc or 200cc, etc. And the rules of the race, how many laps, stuff like that. Okay, now I'm going to go to start race, and we both get to choose what track we want to do, and then the game will decide which one it's going to be randomly. So at the moment it's just going through, because remember now you might be in different parts of the house, so you're not exactly sure of what the rules are and how many laps, etc. it is. So let's just go through that one there, and then on the right hand here you can choose your track again, just go through there, and now it's randomly going to decide which track it is on. Now all the functions work like before. If you did want to have the steering like that, you can do. So it's just exactly the same as how a normal game works. Now I've had this working at over 60 meters and I can't notice any lag whatsoever. So if you have a look here, if I was to go back, every time I press X you can see behind, and you can see how responsive it is. I don't notice any problem with it at all. So I presume because it's a LAN, it's going to be rated up to 100 meters, but I've tried it at 60 and it works absolutely fine. So you can see there that they're both working. There we go. Here you can see on each other's screen now. Right, okay, so basically that's LAN play, one player and one player. I'm quickly going to show you 2 player on each screen now, and then we're going to go into the more fun part, because I'm a cable nerd, of how to do all the cables and the LAN adapters and the USB cables and everything like that. I'm even going to make it work down powerline adapters so you don't have to run cables throughout your house. I'm just going to fast forward on this bit now so I can set up 2 players on each screen. And it doesn't matter who sets up the party. So next time now I'm going to set up the party on this switch over here. So again, you can see now it's automatically gone back to wireless play. So again, we will have to set up LAN play again. So this time I'm going to do it on this one here, left and right down, and then in, and it's gone to LAN play. This time I'm going to do 2 player, and it's going to ask me to set up the other controller. And also do the guests, because remember it's only player 1 here and player 1 here, which is like registered. Player 2 and player 4 are going to be guests. So just do a female one for the guest, and I'm going to do create room. Keep the same for that one. Right, and now over here again, both down, left click on that one, and then 2 player on the LAN play. And this time I'm going to create Ben's room, and now look here, it says 2 of 12. So you see now it's been created on that Nintendo Switch, and it's saying Ben because that's the owner of that Nintendo Switch over there, and it's saying 2 of 12 because there's already 2 people in the room over there. So press A. Right, and now you can see all 4 of them are in the room. And you can choose all different things. So if you have a look at the top, the full range of games are there. 200, Mirror, 150, 100, 50cc, Random Battle, Shine Thief, Coin Runners, Bob on Blast, Renegade Roundup, Balloon Battle, etc. So they're all there. Right, there you go. So this is split screen, so 4 people playing via the LAN play on 2 Nintendo Switches. So this is this one here. This is player 2 here. And then this one looks like it's set to automatic accelerate, so let's turn that off. So if you have a look there, it's automatic accelerate, so I'm just going to turn that one off. I'm going to keep the steering on, and I'm going to take off the smart steering as well, because you're only going to really be using that if there was a very young child playing and they couldn't control it very well. So there you go, you can see that the steering wheels and everything work just like they should do. That's that one, and player 1 over here. That's it. And again, no problem with lag or anything like that, it all works. As far as I'm concerned, it works perfectly, just like you're playing it, just one player on the one TV screen. Okay, so that's that part done now. Now we're going to take it off the TVs and just use it in handheld mode, but still use the LAN party. So Nintendo say that you can't do this, they say it has to be docked, but it doesn't have to be docked, you can get it to work. Right, so normally now you wouldn't be able to LAN play here. So for example, if I was to hit the 2 buttons and press this, you can see now it isn't doing anything yet because we're not connected to an Ethernet connection. But this is the clever bit. If you get yourself one of these, this is just a USB-C to a normal USB OTG cable, which stands for on-the-go cable. Just Google or look on Amazon for a OTG USB-C cable, and then the one I got is very cheap. I picked out the cheapest one. I think it was about $3.99 or something like that off Amazon. It was on Amazon Prime and it arrived the next day and it works absolutely fine. Okay, so with this one here, you just plug it into the bottom like so. Lower that down. Now I would say this is obviously not supported by Nintendo, so if you run into any problems, you're doing this at your own risk. I can't see why there would be a problem doing this. If you think that it could be dodgy or whatever, write it down in the comments your reason why. I can't see why there's any issue doing this at all. Right, and then what we do is we're going to get our LAN adapter out off the back of the switch. So remember now, this is still connected to my network switch over here. And then I'm just going to plug it in to this one here. And if we go to the home, we should see in a little while that wireless thing will change into a wired connection. So there you go. It is recognizing the Ethernet cable through the LAN adapter through the USB port. Because remember, when you plug your switch into the dock, all it's doing is connecting to the USB port into there and then splitting that signal so that you can connect it up to the TV, giving you 2 extra USB ports, a USB 3 port, and also the power adapter allowing you to plug it in. So obviously when you're using it in this way, you've got no way of charging it. There is a way, and I'm going to show you that on the other Nintendo Switch, but if you were just to do it with one USB-C on-the-go cable here, you're not going to be able to charge this one here now. So when the battery runs flat, you're then going to have to go back into dock mode or charge it up for a while. Right, okay, on this one over here, we're going to use this on the stand. So I'm going to keep it connected onto this one here, because normally on wireless play, you can't use this in this configuration when you're using it on split screen. But you just seen that I did split screen, and I was using this on one of them, and I was using the normal, the other grey one from the Nintendo Switch here as player 2 on this one. So when you're doing LAN play, it will work with the Joy-Con grip, unlike wireless play, where this will only work on wireless play when you're doing one player on each screen. If you're doing split screen, you cannot use it. It is grayed out, so you can't select it. Right, okay, so now on this side here, what I'm going to do on this one is, remember I said earlier about the USB 2 Ethernet adapter. Let's just unplug that. The reason the USB 2 one's also handy to have is if you've got Android phones, you might well already have many of these micro USB to USB on-the-go cables lying around. So what I did is I got a pack of 3 of these USB-C little adapters to female micro USB adapters. Now the thing is, they work absolutely fine, but not when you're using USB 3 stuff. But this one here, this little adapter, is not USB 3. This is just a USB 2 U-green adapter. So not only is it a couple of pounds cheaper, it will then allow you to use your existing equipment by just getting one of these cheap adapters. And I'm talking, these are really cheap. You can get them for £1 or £2 on eBay, or I got a pack of 3 for I think £3 or £4 on Amazon, so they're not expensive. Right, okay, so I'm going to plug that into there, and then what you can do is plug it straight into your switch. So if I go home, you will see at the moment the Wi-Fi signal there is non-existent because these switches in my house work really badly on Wi-Fi. But when I plug this into here, give it about a minute, I might fast forward it depending on how long it takes. There we go. So it didn't take that long at all, and you see now that it's come up. So this is now also connected to a Ethernet connection. So that's the reason we can do LAN play, because it thinks it's connected to the dock, but it's not connected to the dock. Now, what I can just do is place this down on here, because obviously I can't use the kickstand. If I pull the kickstand out now, I can't actually use it because the cables are all sticking out the bottom of it, just exactly the same if you were to charge it. So I got this cheap little stand off Amazon. It's not an official one, it's not a horry one. I think it was £7.99. It's not particularly nice, but it does the job, and it folds up small, so if you were travelling to your friend's house, you can see that that's a lot easier than bringing another TV over, isn't it? So let's put that out there. Right, okay, so that's there. Now, is there a way that we can charge it at the same time? Well, yes, there is. First of all, when the switch came out to begin with, I thought that you might not have to be able to get the dock. I was hoping you could just use one of these USB-C adapters that then has a HDMI out, USB-C power in to put your Nintendo official power supply into there, and then USB 3 out. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, because I think as far as it works is it goes out of the switch as a display port, and then the dock converts it from display port over to HDMI. I've tried doing all sorts of things to get it to work. I can't get it to work. But anyway, I bought this one here. I think this was about £18. So what it will allow you to do is it will allow you to put power into the switch and also put the Ethernet adapter in. So if we come back here again nice and close, what I'm going to do is, so you see that's that setup, but now we can also use this setup here. We can plug in this particular adapter, and then I can get my Ethernet cable and plug it in here, and then I can get my power supply out of the back of the switch, and then I can plug my power supply in to here. Now if we have a look here, at the moment, again, it's recognised the Ethernet signal if you look really closely, but have a look at the battery symbol. Yeah, it's not charging at the moment, but now if I plug this into here and have a look up here, if it doesn't work, bring it back to here again and swap it the other way around. So come back to here, and now I'm going to swap that way around. Right, okay, it's still not recognising the charging, so I'm going to unplug it from here, and I'm going to plug it back in again and see if it, there we go, it's recognising the charging now. Console battery 59%, and it's now charging. So if it doesn't recognise it, first of all, swap over the power supply, turn it 180, put it in. If it still doesn't work, just unplug it and plug it back in again. And now if you look closely, I've got the Ethernet connection and it's charging. So in theory now, that is exactly the same as being connected to the, well, it thinks it's connected to the dock. It's got power going into it and an Ethernet cable going into it, and I can now play that in handheld mode here. Okay, so that's those adapters there. If you're interested in that one, I'm sure there's many other ways of doing this. Maybe you could get some sort of USB-C hub. I haven't even looked into whether they exist, but you would need a USB-C hub, and then you would need to have at least one of the ports as a standard USB to be able to plug your Ethernet thing into it. If you're interested in that, I presume they still do it. I only bought it a month ago. It's made by this company up here, and just have a look on Amazon for that, and hopefully you will find it. Right, so basically, let's now set it up again, doing the LAN play, and then afterwards I'm going to show you how to do it in different parts of the house using powerline adapters, which are these adapters here that plug into your mains wiring. Because you might not want to run Ethernet cables all through your house. If, for example, you wanted your son playing it in one room and you were playing it in another room, or you might have a couple of sons and daughters with switches and you all want to connect them up together, but you don't want them in the same room. So you can have like a local multiplayer in your house using powerline adapters. So I'm going to show you that at the end. Right, okay, and just to make it a bit more interesting as well, I'm going to put it through 60 meters of cable, just as I showed you earlier. I said it was, just as I explained earlier, that was working through 60 meters. These are both 30 meter reels. This is a Cat 5e, this is a Cat 6. So I'm joining them together with this very cheap coupler. So again, this is all like a wrong way of doing it, but even with cheap adapters like that and going through 60 meters of cable, it still works absolutely fine. So we're going to plug, let's do this one over here. We're going to plug that into there. And I'm going to plug that one into the LAN adapter over here. So now that cable's not in use, and if you have a look here, again the LAN the Ethernet symbols come up, it comes out via this on-the-go cable into the LAN adapter, through this 30 meters of Cat 6 cable, into a cheapo RJ45 to RJ45 coupler, into this 30 meter Cat 5e cable and into my switch. So in theory, that one over there, if there was going to be a problem, then it should have a problem communicating because it's going via so much cable. But as you will see, it won't have any problem. Right, okay, so let's go into it now. I'm just going to set it up. I'm going to fast forward this because it's a setup exactly the same as it was before. It isn't ideal because over time you might well put strain on your switch with this cable hanging down. Obviously you would want to kind of support this cable maybe on the back of the switch with a bit of sticky tape or something like that, just to stop it hanging down. I mean, over here I think this is an ideal situation to have the little right, so as you can see, the one on the left hand side is working absolutely fine. If I press X, you can see how quick it's working. I can't notice any delay or anything like that. I was playing this earlier and again it works fine. Yeah, and if you have a look at this one here, again this is in handheld mode, and again you can see here if I was to press X, 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 yeah. Yeah, okay, so there we go. You can see now it's doing LAN play when it's not docked, just with a simple USB on-the-go cable. And yeah, that's it. Now I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to dock this back onto the TV and then I'm going to bring this upstairs, but we're not going to use this ridiculously long cable. We're going to use powerline adapters. So I'm just going to get the initial bit set up and then I'm going to show you how it's working. Now if you're not sure what powerline adapters are, just look them up on Google. I've already done videos on them. Basically they... Right, okay, so it's back set up on the TV here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2-player on this one using the 2 Joy-Cons and then 1-player on the one upstairs using the Joy-Cons and the Joy-Con grip. Exactly the same as before. We've got the LAN adapter coming out, Ethernet cable straight into the network switch here. Now the difference is then the second Ethernet cable now no longer goes to the dock or the other Nintendo Switch because it's upstairs. This black cable here runs up here and it goes into a powerline adapter which goes into a wall plug socket. And you can use any brand of powerline adapter, it doesn't matter which ones you use. These are 500 megabit ones, they work absolutely fine. Really cheap, these were only about 22 or 23 pounds. You get all different sorts of ones with numerous outlets on them for different Ethernet connections and Wi-Fi ones, and you know, just Google it and learn a bit about them. So there you go, it's now sending that Ethernet signal through this cable and this going through my wiring. And now we're going to have a look upstairs. So normally wireless play would no way work up here, but because it's working via a LAN, it will work a ridiculous amount of distance. Now, they say that you shouldn't plug it in to a trailing lead like this because it affects the signal. So what I'm doing here is like the worst case scenario. This should be in a wall socket, but it's still working absolutely fine and there's no lag at all. So basically this is a UK style plug socket, which is obviously plugged into the wall over there, and it's just an extension lead. I've got the other part of the power line adapter, so they come in pairs. Again, you can use numerous ones of these and they don't have to be the same make. I could now plug in another power line adapter here, another one into electrical socket in another room, another one into the back of the house. You can plug them into any electrical socket as long as they're off the same fuse board, or the CCU, customer consumer unit as you may know it. So basically it comes out of there, and again it goes into the LAN adapter, and it goes from the LAN adapter straight into the thing here. I could use that other adapter like you've seen downstairs, but it was just easy to bring this up. And now if you have a look there, I've got an Ethernet signal here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set up the game from this one here. So this is going to be the host. Again, I'm just going to fast forward through this now because you know how to do it. Go down, I'm just going to do a 1 player on this one and a 2 player downstairs. Even if when you have your Joy-Cons like this, you can still do the 2 fingers and the left click in. So again, you see wireless play, just got the little Joy-Con set up now. So 2 fingers down and click in, and it changes to LAN play there. This time I'm going to do 2 players on this screen, so it's going to be split screen here. Right, okay, so we're off, and you see now 1 player's whizzed ahead because auto accelerate must be on that one. And if I was to look back, you should be able to see, let me reverse a bit, you should be able to see the other player there. There we go. So let me just quickly show you it working here. Again, as you can see, no problem with lag or anything. Can you see that I'm hitting the X button? To me it works perfectly, even via the power line adapters. Right, okay, so that's that one there, and lastly, show you the split screen downstairs. Okay, so as you see on the left hand side, again, no delay or anything. Can you see that? Works perfectly. And on the right hand side, I've already got auto accelerate, and it looks like there's the steering left and right as well by turning it here. Okay, so this is how you would have it set up if a young child was playing. There we go. Okay, so you get the idea, there you go. So LAN play, I personally think, is a great feature. Really happy with it because it's ideal now because I can set one of these up in the back room, one of them up in the front room, and then I don't have to rely on wireless play because it's such a short distance, and you can still play with each other, but you have the whole screen to yourself, so you don't have to worry about this split screen if you're doing just 1 player against another player. So I think it's really good. I'm really pleased as well that you don't have to dock it to a TV. I think that's going to be really useful. You can just bring your stand with you and your Nintendo Switch to someone else's house with a little USB cable, and then as long as the console, as long as the battery lasts, you can play for that amount of time. If you do want to charge it up at the same time, then look into one of those adapters. There might even be better ones out there. I haven't researched it. I'm sure you will be able to get some USB-C hub that allows USB-A cables as well as USB-C, and that's what you need to look for. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was a very long video, but it was just so much to go through, and hopefully you won't go through the same mistakes that I did because I've spent the time, doing it for you. So please give it a thumbs up if you like it, and please subscribe for more how-to videos. Take care. Bye now.